Hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon. And today it is our Spiritual Light show. It's Wednesday, and we are a little bit late, but Sunday was the Women International Day. And today we are dedicating this program to those women. I know we have already made some program or some shows with this topic, but it's always good to talk about their collaboration, how they helped us, how they lead the Spiritism. So it's good to have the woman with us every single day. And Charles is with me today. So bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Steven. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Very happy to be here. Yes, we are only two, but Silvia promised to join us a little bit later. So
Yeah.
hopefully she will arrive also because it's good to have a woman talking about women as well, not only men. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. So as I said, the month of March, invite us to reflect on the role and dignity of women in society. But our purpose here is take this reflection deeper. The spirits teach us clearly before God, men and women are equal. For spirits have no gender. Gender is an experience of incarnation, not identity of the soul. Throughout history, women have carried immense spiritual missions in families, communities, in movements, and moral renewals. Tonight, we explore the spiritual strength of woman, not in competition, but in mission, complementarity, and divine purpose. So, Charles, I have to start with you because it's just me and you here. um, as I said, like the spirit that has no gender, uh, because gender it is an experience of incarnation in certain lifetimes. Charles, Charles, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, but please repeat the question. I think
Well, I said in my comments that uh, spirit has no gender.
Mhm.
Why some spirits have the mission to incarnate as a woman?
Why? Okay, now I understood. Uh, so first to say, I mean, just to complement a little bit your introduction, Stephen, it's one of the basic teachings of the Spiritist body of knowledge is exactly what you said. Huh? Spirits have no gender, so they can reincarnate both as men and woman. So only this is a kind of a revolution, because from the spiritual or the spirit point of view, there is no difference between men and women. And as you told, uh, the spirit can incarnate as man and as woman. Well, at the beginning of its evolution, it's somehow decided by the spiritual mentors. But as soon as the spirit got the possibility and the capability to make the decision by himself, he decides whether he wants to reincarnate as male or female, or as man or woman. So indeed, we can ask us why, and by the way, what we observe in humanity, when you have 100 births, you have 50-50. So perfect balance between both. And thanks God, because otherwise it would create some unbalance, as we have seen some such unbalances created artificially during some events like WW1 or WW2. It's a case of my grandfather. He had the first marriage and he was a widow. His wife died, and he married again with a woman who was 25 years younger than him. And when my father was born, he was already 61 years old. So it's quite interesting for that time. But the reason was exactly this, because a lot of men died during the war. There were a lot of women who did not find a man to marry. And that's why we had such type of situation at that time. But naturally, the balance is 50-50, the perfect equilibrium. Nevertheless, it's a choice. So, as I told, most of the time we make the choice ourselves to reincarnate a male or female. And why is this choice? If we think about, if we would reincarnate only as a male, always as a male, we would not know what female is, and our spirit would not have a complete knowledge and a complete evolution, because as we have told again, the gender is only during the incarnation. The spirit has no gender. And once the spirit does not need to reincarnate anymore, this question becomes void. All the spirits will be equal, uh, without a gender, which is only characteristic and needed during the incarnation. Now, what we know as well, and what we can see from the communication we receive from the spiritual world, and what we can also observe at a certain extent on the earth, is uh, if you take, for example, a spirit who incarnates 10 times as a man, and the 11th time he will reincarnate as a woman, he will unavoidably have, how to say, a kind of a trend or a tendency, masculine tendency, even being reincarnated in the body of a woman. And the opposite is also true. The spirit who incarnate a lot of times as a woman, and then the next time as a man, will also have a trend as a man, even if reincarnated in a body of a woman. Okay, so this is, as long as the spirit is not enough evolved, and this is why also the spirit has to reincarnate as man and woman to experience the specific situations, the specific, how to say, tendencies,
Mhm.
in order to become a kind of universal spirits. The other reasons can be to fulfill missions. We can have uh, when we look about the missions, we have some missions which are more favorable to men, some other more favorable to women. For instance, the mission to be pregnant can only be by a woman. But it's not so absolute again, because you see, one of the biggest mission with a kind of a military duty in the Middle Age was by Joan of Arc, which was a woman, and not a man. So It's not so easy to determine upfront what is the best situation for a given mission. But what we can know also, what we can observe also is, and this is somehow um, explained by Léon Denis in his books. He examined this point quite in detail. Is the women are uh, generally, but not systematically, more sensible. And also, if we don't have the statistics, but if we would do statistics of mediumship, for instance, we would probably have more women than men. So it is also one of the aspects, this particular sensibilities women have for this mediumship. Okay, so this is just to give, let's say, some indication, but as I said, nothing absolute. There are also men which are mediums, and the example of Joan of Arc. Today in the military, uh, you have. When I was young, it was only men, but since a couple of decades now, we have also a lot of
Mm.
women
Yes.
military jobs, and then we can also maybe, I mean, for some jobs which are physically quite intensive, there is also still a trend today to have more men whose body is maybe more suited for the works which are physically intense. But again, what this is a kind of a revolution. When we go back to the 18th, 19th century, sorry, with at the time where Allan Kardec was building the Spiritist body of knowledge, there were a lot of preconceived ideas, and the women, they had very little rights. In France, the women had the right to vote only after WW2. France was maybe a little bit late on this because of this discrimination who was persistent of men against women. At that time also, the education, for instance, was mostly for men. The girls did not have school or very seldomly. And Allan Kardec, before being Kardec, when he was Hippolyte Léon Denis Rivail, with his wife, Amélie Boudet, were also quite pioneer in this direction, because in the 18 between 1845 and 1850, they had a school for women, for girls, and the Spiritist body of knowledge, thanks to this principle, showing that on the spiritual point of view there is no difference between men and women, was also one of the biggest contributors to the feminist cause, who was already active at that time, but who found in the Spiritist body of knowledge very strong arguments for this cause.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said, Charles. We have a comment here from Juana Mora. It depends of the mission or the karmic lessons the spirit is coming to work through. Some they need to do in male bodies. In other lives, it will be necessary to be born as a female body.
Exactly.
She's complete. She's completely correct here.
So
The,
when she talks about karmic reason, it's also another, for instance, males, spirits who, as male, abused or oppressed or women, may ask to reincarnate as a woman, we don't use the word karmic in the Spiritist body of knowledge. We more use the word expiation. So to feel in his body what he made the other suffer. And nowadays, it's still a very big problem when we see some countries like the Muslim in particular, where or in Africa, where still there is a huge discrimination between men and women. And this has absolutely no, this finds absolutely no justification, at least in the Spiritist body of knowledge. And thanks God, in our countries, it is coming closer to a balance, albeit it is not there yet.
Yeah, and we needed to understand that incarnate as a woman or man, it's relative. It's relative because perhaps, as Charlie said, your mission is better accomplished in a female body, or sometimes you ask to come as female or a male because you need to go through some steps in which man doesn't have. Man cannot perceive it. If we start here to point out some qualities that man does have and woman don't have, woman does have and man doesn't have, so it's going to be all the night. But there are some abilities, some qualities, some perceptions in which you only be able to see it, to feel it, if you are in a woman body or male body. That's why we have these chains. This is one of the reasons, but the man, what we want, what at least I want to say here is spirit is, there's no Jane there. So it means doesn't matter. We are equal, and there is no difference. There is no one better than the other. There is no one smarter than the other. No. Unfortunately, the history tell us about these all nonsense acts we did with the woman, and this comes even before Christ. Like woman that has no rights to say anything. They need to just be with the husband. So a lot of, in my opinion, nonsense arguments to diminish the woman, and that's not the point. And perhaps you are asking why we still have it. And my answer to you is it's because we still need going through that experience. That's the only reason. Because we didn't learn treat everyone equally. We didn't learn do not judge. We didn't learn how to live in peace. So that's why, because we still need to come. And unfortunately, you can see even in the business world, woman now is trying to prove something. It's very hard for a woman. If a man, when they stand by a proposal, it's one thing. When we have a woman, is another. So it's sad. It is really sad, and we need to learn how to do it. And and Charles, uh, shifting to the spiritism, what can you say? What were the roles women had during the spiritism with Kardec? We can say started with the Fox sisters in the U.S. Then we have the turning tables. Then we have the mediums. Then we have Amélie Boudet. So how was the role of these women in the early phases of the spiritism?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, uh, there were several women in all this process. Huh? So you told the Fox sisters, there were the mediums. Huh? We told a little bit about it as well. When you look at on Kardec, he had also several mediums who were women. When he wrote the Spirits book, huh, the Sister Baudin, and also Céline Jaffé, who was also medium, who participated actively in the elaboration of the Spirits book. There was also another woman which was medium, which was Hermance Dufaux. She wrote. She also helped a lot Kardec in the question answers to the spirits, and she wrote several books, history books like Joan of Arc by herself, who was dictated to Hermance Dufaux by the spirit of Joan of Arc, giving a lot of historical details, by the way. It's a very interesting book. This is just some example. There was also Madame Collignon in Bordeaux, and when we look to the Spirits magazine, for instance, uh, again there are more proportionally women medium as men at that time. Albeit the in the statistic of the spiritists, Kardec was estimating that there was 60 to 70% men and only 30 to 40% women. And
Hmm.
again, the reason for this was probably because at that time, the women had no right. The women basically stayed at home and whatever. When we look at the situation today, I would say even it's the opposite. I don't know if you have some statistic in the Irish Spiritist Federation, Stevan, but definitively there are more women in the
Oh yeah,
Spiritist movement than men nowadays. Huh?
yes,
And I
definitely.
would say the 70-30 is more 30-70 nowadays. And then, of course, we had also Amélie Boudet. So it's very interesting to see how they met, Hippolyte Rivail with Amélie Boudet. And it was at the first sight, okay, two spirits who uh, agreed to accomplish a mission together, who were meeting in those years 1831, and they married, and it was really a very strong union until the end. And we have several letters they exchanged when one or the other was traveling. And we can see from these letters that there was really a very strong support from him to her and from her to him as well. So this mutual support, which was very strong, both before, as I gave an example already for this school of for girls who could only be led by women at that time as per the law. And also during the Spiritist, the elaboration of the Spiritist body of knowledge, where Amélie was very strongly participating as well, both giving opinions and whatever, and also having the meetings in her home, and also taking care about answering the questions and leading the meetings when her husband was traveling, and all this. So we see really, and there was also a speech because Amélie died in 1883, so it was 14 years after her husband, who died in 1869. And as at the burial of Amélie, a speech was given by Gabriel Delanne, and this speech is very remarkable because he, as from very young, visited them a lot, huh, and could see how important was this role of Amélie, both during the life of her husband, but also after he passed away, because she continued supporting very strongly the Spiritist movement. So she had also a very fundamental role in all what happened and in this mission. So, of course, Allan Kardec is more known than her, but we must here recognize that she had a very strong duty as well, both for, how to say, affection and helping and consoling in the difficult moments and so on, giving advices. And we can see also that most of the time, her husband asked her opinion before doing or deciding something. And this is,
Yeah,
I think, it's not an insulated cases. There are a lot of other cases where behind a man with a very important mission, there was also a woman supporting him very strongly. Uh, So it's just some examples of the Spiritist movement. Of course, when we come more recently, you had also a lot of other very active women in the Spiritist movement, like Yvonne do Amaral Pereira, and also Mei Mei. Uh, just to give two examples in Brazil, but of course, there are many others. And this is, of course, confirming what we said. So the spirit is then making the choice to incarnate as male or female.
yeah, yeah. But it's important what you said, Charles. This presence of woman. Um, Clearly, we can see this reading the Spiritist magazines from Kardec. The majority was men, you know. And today, if we go to any spirit center, it's not different from here in Ireland. We do have more women working there than men, and it's always good because usually we have a woman in the front to receive the guests because they always have that maternal smile, that maternal welcoming, which makes everyone uh, feel the love, the passion. If it is a man, it is harder to do it because man is like, well, welcome, yes, our spirit center here. No, woman likes, hey, how are you? Good evening. Nice to have you here. So they are more approachable, and this is the difference. This explains the difference between woman and man. But it's good to see how important are those women. Like you brilliant said, Ivone Pereira do Amaral, without her books, our knowledge in mediumship were very limited. She opened up a vast knowledge for us to understand the obsession case, to understand how it works. So it's a woman. Uh, Even though the book from Violets on the Window It was
Silvia,
for a woman. I know the Violence of Window is much not considered a spiritist book, but it was psychographed by a woman, not a man.
and the main personage is Patricia, is also a woman in the book.
Exactly, exactly. So we have too much to say and to be thankful for their role. Um, and I see these, as I said, this maternal approach, a strong leadership for us for the regenerated world. 1 second, because talking about woman, arrival of a woman today, our first lady is
Hello, I'm
here with
sorry, I was
us.
late. Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Charles. Hi, Steven. Hello,
Good evening,
everyone. Nice to
Steven.
be here with
Welcome.
you.
Hey, Silvia, how are
Welcome.
you, my dear?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very well.
It's
We were commenting with Steven, Silvia, that only two men talking about women is not ideal. So we were really eager have you arriving to really bring your contribution to this subject.
Yes. Yes, I mean, it's important, isn't it, that we having a spiritism, a lot of women who were great, um, pioneers of the work, starting from Amélie Boudet, which was, she was a stalwart to help Kardec in his work of the codification of the Spiritist teachings, and many others. And I think also, even now in modern times, quite a lot of groups actually coordinated by women. Just in thinking, I mean, I
Yeah.
coordinate a group, and I have three, four, five, six groups that I can think just off my head that actually the women are coordinated by women, within Spiritism. And I think that's one of the important things as well, because Spiritism is so clear in teaching us that there is no difference, that we stand together. We men have different abilities, women have different abilities, but it's one to complete the other, and we have the same opportunities that we have to be productive, and to be able to help. We stand together. And also the spirit teaches us that in the spiritual there is no gender, and we reincarnate as men and we reincarnate as women, because we as a spirit, we need to learn the different facets of the spirit, isn't it, in order for the spirit to grow. So I think, and I don't know if it's a bit crazy, but I think the first feminist really was Jesus, isn't it? Because he had all those women around him, and he always treated everyone well. And I think one of the very, very important things, because he selected those 12 men, the disciples, to be with him. But when he was at the cross, only the women were there, with the exception of John, um, the son of Zebedee. All the others were women. His mother, Joanna de Cusa, Mary Magdalene, the Martha, um, and I think this is very interesting, that they were the ones who were courageous enough to be there, saying, "We support this man," when he was being crucified and being, um, condemned, and with all the like frenzy that was around, all the disciples run away in fear. Not that I'm saying that men were not good, don't understand it like that, but I find it very interesting that in certain situations women seems to take hold of the and go forward. I don't know if it may be because being mothers, they have that I think within themselves of the survival, having to defend their loved ones. I mean, of course, fathers do that as well. Because we know it's the same, both sexes, but somehow women seems to take over a lot of responsibilities of coordinating things, directing things, and just in passing in my other life, um, in political things, most of the leaders also are women because they could not organize things better. The men were like discussing high politics, and everybody else was organizing what to do, who was going to be where, and so I think this is very much in Spiritism, but it's not something that is detrimental. It's just that we fulfill a role, isn't it? I mean, and we see, when we think about the work that um, Allan Kardec did in 10 years, he codified the Spiritist doctrine. I mean, it's just incredible, the amount of work. I cannot even imagine, the magazines, the trips he did, and putting all those books together. And he had someone with him that helped him. I think she took care of all the difficulties of the day-to-day stuff, isn't it? So he could concentrate in the work. I don't know how you see it, but I think it's very interesting.
Yeah,
Just
and I was saying, Silvia, when you arrived, this this maternal feeling or way to be a woman, I do believe they they can lead us easily to the regenerated world. It's different from men, which is like hard, you know. And with the woman, things got to get more smooth, more calm. What do you think?
well, I don't know. I think things are changing. There are many men that are quite loving, in a sense of being quite, because before the roles were so defined. The men would go out to work, the women would stay home and to do whatever. And then, the situation changed, and a lot of women went into to the market, place to work. And most women, I think, nowadays work. And sometimes the role of the carer has passed to the fathers, for whatever. It's not so defined now that the men go out. I mean, I know some friends that had job, she got paid, I think, 3 times as much as the husband. So he was quite happy to do the work, to take care of the children, to take care of the house. He also had a job, but his job was more relaxed than hers. And he got paid as well, quite well. He wasn't, like dependent on his wife. No, he had a job, but he was more flexible in the job. And he was quite happy to take over the responsibility of the house, going to the school, which was
Mm.
very funny because, in the schools is such an incredible thing outside. So the daddy was outside, and usually you have all the mothers. So, but and I think because I also know women who don't have any maternal instinct at all. You think of them, you think like they're some of them behave like soldiers, you know, and we know that spirits reincarnate in both roles, and I think maybe some of the women reincarnated as men, and they all learning different things. And I think because of the word of regeneration, we ask from both sexes kindness, caring, loving, peace, and I think we are seeing a world now being tested in fire. I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong, but all these wars and all these things, and I think we as as human being are being tested. Who is going forward to this next world of regeneration, and who is going to be left behind? Because when you see in Genesis, the end of times and everything, and you go to the prophetic sermons in Mark and also in Daniel, um, all these difficulties, the wars, and I think in a way it's almost like filtering, isn't it? Who is going to,
Hmm.
those who be able to achieve some kind of kindness, forgiveness, will be a little more human. And the others will be sent back to another planet where they're still fighting each other like we did. So I think it's all part of this transformation. And nowadays it's very common that you see fathers carrying the babies, rather than being always behind or throwing the baby to the mother when they need changing their nappies or something. Some of them are quite happy to do that now. So I mean, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I think I find that it's more common now, actually. So they
Yes.
also go through the next world.
Yes.
What we see is, for instance, this who is taking care about the baby and so on is slowly but surely coming into the human laws. Huh? For instance, the woman is pregnant, so she has the man cannot be pregnant, at least so far. Huh? So there is the period of pregnancy with some right to stay at home and whatever. But after the birth of the baby, there is this, in French, it's called congé parental. Huh? So the holidays to be parents can be for the woman or can also be for the man, for the father.
Yes.
Huh? So these things are really slowly but surely coming into the laws. We still need even some positive discrimination nowadays in order to close the gap, which already exists. But I think the human laws are really on the right way right
Yeah.
now, at least in our countries. Huh? And I think this leading by example will also generalize, huh? Because in the world of regeneration, there will be, cannot be any type of discrimination anymore, at least on this topic. Huh?
Yeah, and it's what you're saying, Charles, is very interesting because many years ago in that program that Chico Xavier had, he was interviewed on the television. I think early 1970s, 1970, I think it was, or 71. Um, at that time, they were just starting the work of tube babies, tube babes and things, and that a lot of people are very against that. That was against nature, especially a lot of religious people. And then Chico said something that was really, I mean, even now probably people would still be and he said, one day will come, they will come in which a baby will be generated outside of the woman's body because of the effort that the body has to go through. A lot of problems can be caused and a lot of death. Even now, with all the technology we have, the medicine, development of medicine, women still die giving birth. And he said, one day, and I think probably is in the word of regeneration, that children, there'll be machines where it will be, the babies will be generated there. So and then, of course, the fathers can do a lot of the work, and I think I feel personally that you need your father as much as you need your mother. You
Yes.
know, I think you become a more complete human being if you have both parents. Not that not having it's difficult. I mean, I myself grew up without my father because he died when I was 5. So I always grew up with my mother who taking both roles. And it's very hard, it's very hard because sometimes the mother has to be as hard as probably the father would. So I think it's better if you have a family that you have both. Although love is everything, isn't it? Love and
Mhm.
care and boundaries. I think children need boundaries
Yeah,
as well.
this is something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I would say, now the moms and dads are softer compared to our times.
Um, yes. Do you think they're softer? What do you think, Charles?
It depends. It depends. Yeah, again, I mean, these things can never be exclusive. Huh? You have, in the both cases, you can have iron women, huh? Or iron men, and much softer women, and also much softer men. So this is more a quality of the spirit, I would say. Albeit, I mean, as a natural trend, yes, there are some characteristics which are maybe a little bit more frequent into women, huh? Like this coming from this maternal instinct, huh? Which is also has a balance, which is the paternal instinct also exists, huh?
Mhm.
The affection and the attachment to the children when they are small and so on. But of course, as you told Silvia, uh, child needs a father and a mother, huh? And even sometimes the father is the mother and the mother is the father. Huh? The roles can be played in
Yeah.
different ways, or sometimes also you have children with two men as the father. Huh? Uh, when this is case, type of cases also happens a lot. But again, then you have one playing one role and the other one playing the complementary role
Yeah.
in order
Yeah.
to provide the child with the needed balance. And
Yeah.
by the way, you told what happened to you happened also to Kardec, huh? Because Hippolyte Rivail, his father disappeared when he was 3, 4 years old. Huh? So he grew up only with his mother, the grandmother, and the brother of her mother, so his uncle. So, but the father disappeared. He was not died. Huh? At the end, we found
Mm,
out what he became, but
mm,
disappeared when he was 3 to 4 years old.
yeah. Yeah, I'm lucky because I remember my father. I remember my dad really well. Even though I was only 5 when he died, he got really sick and died very quickly. It was a big loss. Um, and because they wouldn't allow us to see him in dead because they thought we were too young. For years, I always thought, maybe even now in the back of my mind, I think he went and he didn't come back. You know, it's weird, and I think I don't know, maybe it's not part of the program, but I think you would really should allow the children to say goodbye. To understand, because otherwise you think, oh, your father left and never came back, and he couldn't come back. But it's difficult because you need both, and you need that energy, the different energy from the father and the mother, because sometimes the father can be quite softer than the mother, because most women, what, because of the life or whatever, they take more the responsibility for the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Mm-hmm.
go clean your teeth, you have to go to bed, and the father is always that part that should support the mother. But I think, and I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that it should be a woman and a man, because nowadays there are different types of couples. But as you said, Charles, um, they have their roles within that family, isn't it? So, it's very important. But talking, about women, and I think Spiritism is really wonderful in that, in which it teaches us that we are different, but we have the same. Each one of us have to represent a role, a place, isn't it? So, uh, oh, did I go? Can you hear me?
Yes, we still
Yeah,
can hear
again.
you. We cannot see you anymore, but we can still hear you.
It's so strange.
Uh,
I've been having a lot of problem with my internet lately for some reason.
no,
So
today.
anyway, we be let's see.
We lost her. No, she's back.
Now she's back.
Am I back? Yes, it's for some, I think it's my internet that's not good or something. I can't understand what happens. Anyway, so uh, you'll just be listening to the sound. I don't know what happened to to my thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. So um, there's just 6 minutes left for us. I just want to, from my part, to say thank you for all the work those brilliant women uh, made for the Spiritism, for the world. And also, I don't want to forget those women in which has no visibility at all, but they do a lot behind the scenes. They do a lot behind the scenes. So I want to say my gratitude, and also says that is expression say uh, behind a man always have a great woman. I think this quote is wrong. I would say beside a man always we have a great woman. So Charles, our final comments.
Yeah, so indeed, I think it's something very strong in the Spiritist body of knowledge, without any fear, uh, giving this really, say, key argument for as- for giving the key argument in order to have the equality between men and women. There is no difference in the spiritual point of view. The same spirit can incarnate in one or the other. I'm a man now, but I have maybe was a woman in a past life, or will be a woman in the next life. So it's really a very strong argument in order to reject any kind of reason of motive of discrimination whatsoever. And okay, I think we are going the right way. I think a lot has been done in the last 1.5 century, but there is still some way to go, and we will continue then communicating on this uh, on this principle, which is again one of the key teaching of the Spiritist body of knowledge. So again, thanks a lot for the opportunity of having being together today.
Dear Silvia.
Okay, I'm sorry that I came in so late and now I disappeared. But it was very interesting. Maybe you should have another talk about that subject again, at some other time, because the role of women in the Spiritist movement is very important. We have had many, many, not spirits, but, coordinators. We very, very important names that allowed the development of Spiritism reaching many, many places. And so, it's very important to remember the roles and to see that going forward into the future, these differences of roles, each one will fulfill the role that they have, but will be more unity, more like, as you said, Stevan, to be standing next to each other rather than being obeyed and or things like that, So well, I'm so glad that I live in Europe and I was educated by women, uh, fighters, them, all of them. And we can stand next to someone, um, which is important. And looking forward to the world of regeneration. So hopefully I'm expecting that when I reincarnate again, I already be in a better world, you know, because I think, like you're saying, Charles, we had past, being men and women, and I have had lives, at least 3 lives that I had as a man, that I was a soldier,
See?
which is very interesting, So I'm
Yeah.
not so much careful in this life. But anyway, it's good. Thank you so much for having me, and it's lovely to be with you and everyone that to be listening to us later or with us now. So good night and God bless you all.
Yeah, thank you, my dear. Let me go to our announcements here. Okay. So next week we will have Rodrigo with us, and we're gonna talk about emotional exhaustions and the spirit of
Spiritual
burnout.
burnout.
So Silvia, if you can, please.
Yes, I'll try to. I don't think I have a course before.
Yeah, good.
Last week I was interpreting for Florencio Anton, who was here doing the paintings. So I think next week I'll be able to join you, and I will. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you. So, also in March, 28th of March, we will have Breno Malucelli giving a speech engaging young people in spiritist activities. This is very good talk for us, especially if you work with or you are part of the youth movement in the spiritism. So it is good to hear from Bruno, which is a young guy, what called their attention. Also, fraternity is celebrating 34th anniversary. So this weekend we will have Altino Majest. Then we're gonna have Daniela Santos, and 29 you're gonna have Charles.
Good. See you,
Beautiful.
Charles, when you come. I go to that
Yeah.
one to see you.
Yeah. Also, every Saturday, 10:30 a.m., the Mediums Books online study with Charles, Munir, and Guilherme. Every other Sunday, we do have the studies of from Joana de Angelis with Dr. Anaí Fonseca. It's Sundays from 8:30 to 10 p.m. London time. Save the date, From 18 to 20th of September, we will have the European Spiritist Gathering along with the youth and kids gathering this year. This is going to happen in Vergemont, in Belgium, and will be wonderful to have all with you with us there. Please keep reading Spiritist Magazine. It's free and full of content. Thank you to Buzz, Irish Spiritist Federation, Francophone Movement in France. Thank you so much. France and Belgium. Thank you so much for the support. And please keep listening Kardec Radio. And this is it from us, my friends. I want to say a good evening. Have a blessed week. I'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. God bless.